Hello there. In this video, I want to share something with you that I think could possibly shake the very foundations of how you understand yourself and other people, right? I think it's that important. I think it's that powerful. And it's something that is not well known or well understood. And yet, when I think back on all the courses and study that I've done throughout my career, trying to understand people and trying to understand myself, I had one of these aha moments when I heard this, when I discovered this. And I genuinely think it's way more significant than we first realise. Okay, so here goes. This is going to really, I hope, make you go wow, because the implications of this are huge. So here it is. Some researchers noticed they were looking into women who were getting Botox, and what they started to notice was that they were interested in how Botox makes people feel. You know, we have this self-image, and we want to present ourselves a certain way, right? So we some of us injectors. I mean, I know I look in the mirror sometimes and think, my God, I could do with some Botox, right? But people do inject their face with this derivative of some poison. I can't for the life of me remember what the poison is at the moment. But effectively, it stops the muscles and affects the nerves. So that we lose some of the plasticity that our face has, and as we get older, our skin tone starts to go and whatnot. So there are reasons, understandable reasons, why some people feel that they want to present themselves a certain way to the world, and that's one of the things that's possible to do, right? And we're not going to judge that or say whether that's right and wrong. That's not what this video is about. What this video is about is what these researchers discovered when they started looking into people, and I'm saying women, but there could have been a few men in there as well, I guess, that were getting Botox injected into their face. Because this is what they found that really staggered them, and they weren't expecting, is that the more that people were getting Botox put into their face, the less empathy and caring they seemed to demonstrate about other people. And that shocked them because it wasn't what they were expecting. In fact, they weren't even thinking that that was going to be a thing, right? They were thinking it was all going to be about how the person felt about themselves. But they discovered it was having an impact on how people felt about other people, not themselves, which is kind of crazy. So they started to investigate this, and what they discovered is something quite remarkable. That in order to understand how somebody else is feeling, we actually, in a very microscopic level, mirror what their face is doing. So in other words, how do I understand what you're feeling? And if you think about that, that's quite an interesting concept. You know, I feel this, you feel that. How do I know? How can I empathise with you? How do I know what you're feeling? What's the mechanism for me to tune in to you, to what you're feeling? And of course, we can go back to research that was done years ago, where when we communicate face to face, we understand that there are visual cues that we take, that in fact the words that we use when we communicate are actually not as important as the visual cues that we pick up. And those visual cues about our behaviour are partly cultural and partly inherited from the human descent through the various cultures and even species of humans, so that at this point in our story, Homo sapiens have learned to communicate in a very sophisticated manner and very subtle manner, and actually a lot of that communication is unknown to the person that's actually communicating it. They just want to communicate something, and somehow magically they communicate it, right? Well, you know, we could spend multiple lifetimes learning about how humans communicate. because it's so interesting, so complex, and so nuanced, and there's so many factors involved in it. But we're actually talking about feelings here, not so much articulating, aerodynamic flow, or how a mathematical concept goes across, or how some social political theory exists. We're actually talking about something much more basic than that, about how we feel. So how come injecting Botox into someone's face means that they're less likely to be able to empathise and feel what somebody else is feeling? Well, it transpires the way that we understand how somebody else is feeling is we try it on. We literally try it on, right? We put on, we mimic, we respond in a way that we've learned to associate. Okay, so let me try and explain that a little bit further. When we meet someone and see someone, without even knowing it, our face starts to mimic the face of the person that we're facing. And so, if they're feeling sad, their face will adopt certain characteristics, and our face will start to mirror and mimic those characteristics. And as we do it, our brain says, oh, you're in this position, your mouth, your eyes, your skin behind here is in a certain position. I associate that with sadness. Think about that for a minute. It's not that you somehow magically, through not teleportation, it's not like we're telepathic. They exhibit a certain very subtle shape of their face, and you face adopts that. There's a little piece of your mind says, right, you've got to try that on, see what it looks like. Oh, I know what that is. That's sadness, or that's happiness, or that's anger. Now, obviously, to some degree, culture plays a part in this, right? So if you go to the Far East, there's a number of cultures and subcultures within those cultures where people are trained to behave a certain way, to look a certain way. And and to be honest, it's a bit racist, but there's a thing in the West that the inscrutable people from the East. Yeah? It's because the way that you've learned to read people's faces, the way that you've learned to mimic people's faces could be different across cultures. Alright? But as I say, the key here is that not that you are even aware that you're doing it, it's that this happens so fast and so subtly that you're not aware of doing it. And so when this trial and this experiment was done, they realised that the people that were becoming less empathetic were not even aware that they were becoming less empathetic, but they just were becoming less empathetic because their ability, their capacity to mimic other people's faces was being diminished. Now that's scary in almost every level when you think about it, because it's saying that something that we're not even aware of is affecting how we are behaving and consequently behaving towards others. Something that we are not consciously in control of. Something that can be affected without us realising it's being affected, and yet has a massive impact on us. On the next video, I'm going to talk about what happens to older people and why older people start to behave differently for similar but different reasons. This is part of a series of videos that we're making to help you realise that the way that we understand ourselves in the world can be much more subtle and hidden from us than we believe. And that the more that we become aware of and develop our sensitivity to these things, the more likely that we are able to communicate and connect with ourselves and other people in such a manner that we're going to get the results that we are seeking, to be happier, to do more rewarding work, to be part of communities that are accepting and supportive, that actually allow us to tackle the problems that we face together in a manner that makes all of our lives richer and more rewarding. Okay, so that's been the video for today. As always, any feedback, any questions, please get in touch, and we'll do our best to answer them and give you additional information about where you can look to investigate this further. This has been Andy. Hope you're having a great day.